Step on up, step on in. $3 a race, $3 a chase.
Wow, winning.
Welcome back to the second episode of Winners and Losers, and once again featuring Ahmed Muhammad. But this time it is different. This time he is not the winner. Let me start off. I do not want to pick on a 14-year-old kid, but pretty much every part of his story has fallen apart. And you're going to be shocked where this story goes. I'm going to tell you things that nobody is talking about, that nobody else has seen. But first I have to go through the backstory, starting with Ahmed explaining his story.
I'm a 14-year-old inventor. My most recent invention is a clock. I built the clock to impress my teacher, but when I showed it to her, she thought it was a threat to her. So it was really sad that she took a wrong impression of it, and I got arrested for it later that day.
Why do you think your teachers, who knew you were this great student, why do you think they reacted the way they did when they saw this clock that you had made at home? Why did they assume it was a hoax bomb?
Because I'm Muslim.
Because you're a Muslim? Why do you think that?
There's a lot of stereotypes for people who are foreigners and they have Muslim names, well, not specifically Muslim names, but names mainly in Islam.
So you don't think that would have happened to one of your classmates had they brought a clock into school?
No, this wouldn't happen to any of my classmates.
You're sure of that?
Yes.
Besides Ahmed's statement being very prepped and very prepared and seeming very robotic in his delivery, and when I say prepared, you're going to be shocked to see how prepared this kid was. It's going to really show why this kid sounded like a spaz. Now, Ahmed maintains that he invented this clock, he brought it to school to impress his teachers, his teacher got the wrong impression, and he got arrested for being Muslim. This is a complete con job. And the evidence is in the many statements of Ahmed, and I mean many. Let's break this story down. First, Ahmed did not invent this clock. These are the many stories of how he claimed he invented this clock.
I built it out of scraps that I found around the house.
Had you made a clock before?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
So why were you thinking you wanted to make a clock?
It was something really simple to make.
Because it didn't look simple. I mean, that thing looked pretty complicated. Did you have to look it up or anything like that?
No, I didn't have to look it up. The only thing I had to look up was the receipt for the box.
Really? Wait, so you actually thought through the process of how to make a clock yourself, right?
Yeah.
So you put this together, you bought parts and put it together in your room, is that right?
Yes.
If he built the clock from scraps around the house, how come you need to find the receipt? Because he didn't build this clock, and we know it.
The clock Ahmed claims to have invented, and some electronic experts found something very familiar about it, saying it looks astonishingly similar to this clock sold in the 1980s by Radio Shack. In fact, some of these experts pointed out that Ahmed's device and the old Radio Shack clock share the exact same screen, same buttons, same 9-volt backup battery system. They point out that Ahmed's clock even has serial numbers and an imprint of an American flag. Experts also ask why, if you're inventing a new clock, would you use a 30-year-old circuit board that is unavailable today? Listen.
I see no evidence that this is any creation in it whatsoever, and that there was any modification or any even assembly of anything to have made things out of a kit, for example. This is simply taking a clock out of its case.
This story is from the Dallas News, dated September 15, 2015. Ahmed's clock was hardly his most elaborate creation. He said he threw it together in about 20 minutes before bedtime on Sunday. A circuit board and a power supply wired to a digital display, all strapped inside a case with a trigger hologram on the front. He showed it to his engineering teacher first thing Monday morning and didn't get quite the reaction he hoped for. So it took Ahmed 20 minutes to do this. I mean, what was the big length of time? He couldn't figure out what screwdriver to use. I don't know, a Phillips or a flathead? What do you do, get confused? And when he finally installs the clock into the pencil case, if you notice, he only uses 2 screws to secure it. He doesn't even take enough prep work or enough time or care to use 4 screws to secure the screen. So he didn't build the clock. All he did was rip out the guts out of an existing clock and put it into a pencil case and try to pass it off as his own invention. Like a kid mixing drinks and calling it a potion. And remember, Ahmed said he built it in 20 minutes the night before he went to school on Monday. Too bad he didn't get that story straight with his dad. This from CNN. Ahmed's father says, I asked if I could talk to or speak to my son, and they told me, no, not right now, because they were taking his fingerprints and asking him questions, Mohammed said. I asked if I could see the thing they were calling a bomb. The police never let me see it, but I knew what my son brought to school. It was an alarm clock that he made. He wakes up with it most mornings. So Ahmed's dad says that Ahmed wakes up to this clock almost every morning. However, Ahmed reports that he built this clock in 20 minutes the night before he took it to school. So there is no way he'd be waking up to this clock most mornings. Now, to be fair, I could see my dad, if I got in trouble, saying something stupid like this. However, irrespective, it still weighs against Ahmed and his father's credibility. Now, even though there's overwhelming evidence that Ahmed did not build this clock, anybody who speaks out against this is labeled as a racist, a bigot, or Islamophobe. As is the case with Richard Dawkins. For those of you who don't know, Richard Dawkins is a noted evolutionary biologist, a writer, and he's very prominent in the atheist community. So after Richard Dawkins reviewed Talbert's video of Talbert deconstructing Ahmed's clock and saying it's nothing but a manufactured clock thrown into a pencil case, Richard tweeted this: if this is true, what was his motive? Whether or not he wanted the police to arrest him, they shouldn't have done so. And for that tweet, there was a massive backlash. Rabin, shame on you, Richard Dawkins. This is a 14-year-old, not an evil mastermind who wanted to get arrested. What you're saying isn't even logical. Trust me, these atheists are the biggest bigots. Ango Baptista. Dear Richard Dawkins, as a fellow atheist, fuck you and your Islamophobia. AJ, you really expose yourself as a bigoted fool. Being opposed to religion is one thing, questioning this boy is another. All this outrage because Richard Dawkins dared to express the fact that he knows Ahmed did not invent this clock, and that Ahmed didn't even build this clock. Richard Dawkins says, I guess I'm a bit sensitive about being among the many fooled. And after all of Richard Dawkins' accomplishments, this is how he's going to be treated over Twitter comments.
Your friend Lawrence Krauss says the public spats that flow from your Twitter statements risk damaging your entire legacy.
Well, I was told I was going to come on to talk about Brief Candle in the Dark, but
yeah.
I'm happy to talk about Twitter. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I think that's a very good point.
Bill Maher takes on Ahmed the clock faker.
Mostly liberals, you'll like this, who have glommed onto him as a mascot are ninnies. Because somebody showed that he did not invent anything. Show the tape of somebody that this was on the internet. It took 20 seconds for somebody to do what this kid did. He didn't invent a clock. He took the guts out of a clock radio that he bought in the store and put it in a pencil box. Okay? This is like pouring Cheerios into a bowl and saying you invented cereal.
With this clock now being proven that Ahmed did not create it, that he did not invent it, it does not look good for Ahmed. Remember, the next part of Ahmed's narrative is that he showed it to his teacher, she thought it looked like a bomb, and he thought it looked nothing like a bomb. Except Ahmed says this.
And I closed it with a cable, so because I didn't want to lock it to make it seem like a threat, so I just used a simple cable, so it won't look that much suspicious.
The only thing it could look suspicious of, or being a threat of, is a bomb. Ahmed knew it looked like a bomb when he brought it to school.
A clock, similar to his. Let's see if people act the same way with me as they acted with Ahmed. Nothing. Nothing, bro.
Bro, no, you can't do this here, bro.
It's just a clock, bro.
Nah, bro. I'm calling 911, bro.
It's just a clock. What do you think it is?
I don't know, bro. That looks sketchy.
What makes you think it's a bomb? You guys think it was a clock or a bomb or something weird? You thought it was a bomb. Even though that I'm white, you still thought it was a bomb?
That was a bomb.
What is that?
What?
That just scared the living.
It's a clock.
Oh, alright. Is that really a clock?
You thought it was a bomb or something?
No, I don't know what...
You didn't know what it was?
No.
Even though that I'm a white descent, you still got scared?
I don't know, it's just a ball.
That was a person showing a device that kind of looked like Ahmed's. Now here's a person showing people what Ahmed's device actually looks like, and these are their responses.
It's like a bomb.
You think it looks like a bomb?
Yes.
It looks like a bomb.
Could be like a bomb or something.
A bomb?
Computer bomb.
And here's what some other bigots think it looks like.
14-year-old Muslim American teenager in Texas who built a clock. He's a science kid, and that's great. Can we show the clock? Okay, and the people at the school thought it might be a bomb, perhaps because it looks exactly like a fucking bomb.
In this age of if you see something, say something, I get they're concerned because it doesn't look like a clock.
Sorry, Ahmed, but this thing does look like a bomb. What could be the motives for why Ahmed brought something that looks like a bomb to school? Richard Dawkins says, I don't know, possibly wanted to be arrested, police played right into his hands, anyway, now invited to the White House, crowdfunded, etc. Or maybe Ahmed just wanted the attention. And he wanted the benefits that come with that attention. We've seen this many times before. Remember this idiot Dana Morales? Her name might be Morales, but she's one immoral fuck.
Well, a waitress from New Jersey has been gaining support online after a family refused to tip her because of her sexuality. Dana Morales, a former Marine, waits tables at a restaurant in Bridgewater. She says the family left this note on the bill, quote, "Sorry, I cannot tip because I do not agree with your lifestyle and the way you live your life." Morales couldn't believe it.
Did you notice how the news reporter indicted all of New Jersey as bigots? Well, the story ended up being a total lie. The couple who she accused as being bigots, well, they saw this news report and brought in their own copy of the receipt.
Both copies of the check have the same date, timestamp, but the totals are different. The family says they left an $18 tip. They even provided news for their credit card statement showing those charges on their Visa.
The restaurant profits from this. Obviously, Dana is profiting from this. And it's fraud. It's a scam.
Former friends of Morales called her a compulsive liar and now say that she no longer works at the Asian restaurant where she started her story. People came from all over the place to give her money. In fact, when we initially did her story here, I had people on Twitter asking me where they can send money because they wanted to help out as well.
Yes, I know. Really touched a nerve.
$3,000 she received apparently.
That's
Now
right.
she has been able to refund some of these duped people who wanted to help out, but not everybody's gotten their money back. She was a member of the military, and she had said that she was discharged one way, but the military says that she was discharged, she had dishonorable discharge. The whole thing crumbled in front of her, and then we're learning that she's a compulsive liar kind of all around.
Meet Tori Christina Jenkins. She's a waitress and she works at Red Lobster. She claimed to receive this receipt, which instead of getting a tip, it says none nigger. She took a picture of it and her father posted it on his Facebook. However, the name of the check was not obscured, and the person who she claimed to leave the racist comment was easily found. This is Devin Barnes, and he received major backlash for this comment.
Death threats. I was getting, why'd you do this? And I'm thinking, I didn't do nothing. Why is people blaming me for something I didn't do, you know?
This became such a problem that Devin hired a handwriting expert to test his handwriting and his wife's handwriting to prove that neither one of them wrote the word nigger. Now, he does admit that he wrote the word none. He says him and his wife had to leave quickly so they got their food to go. According to the Daily Caller, a second handwriting analysis was performed independent of Duggar and Barnes. I believe within a reasonable degree of certainty that the waitress actually wrote the word, said forensic handwriting expert Bob Baer, who examined the sample of writing taken from the waitress's Facebook account for the DCNF. If you look at the G's, the E's, the R's, they match up, said Baer. Those are the most unique writing habits she had. And how was Jenkins rewarded for her deception and her lies? With over $10,000 crowdfunded. She used that money to buy herself a new car. Devin Barnes is currently suing her and Red Lobster. Joseph Bakken claimed that he was beaten up for being gay outside of a bar. But this is how he really got injured.
Holy shit!
Joseph pled guilty to filing a false police report. He was given a 180-day suspended sentence and fined $300. This is Rick Jones. He claimed that after leaving work one night, he was severely beaten up and had the words "die fag" carved into his arm. He then claimed that 5 days later, a rock was thrown through his front window, his house was vandalized, and a Molotov cocktail was thrown on his house. A GoFundMe campaign raised over $11,000 to help him. However, the story came out to be a fake, and this turned into this. This is Carol Ann and Laura Stutt. They claimed their house was burnt down in a hate crime because they're gay. A jury found that they burnt down their own house in a fake hate crime so they get the insurance money. And who can forget Rachel Dolezal, the trans black woman? She claimed she was black, but she really looked like this. Now, I'm not going to get into all of her craziness, and she is definitely a landmine of crazy, but she claimed to be the target of a lot of different hate crimes. However, using just 2 examples, while working at the Human Rights Education Institution, she claimed that someone left swastikas on her door. However, the video cameras were turned off, so no one could tell who actually left them there. This is her most disturbing claim. Dozel claimed that she was receiving hate mail at the NAACP office. However, after the police investigated, they found the envelope had no marks indicating that it had gone through the mail. A postal inspector told police the only way this letter could have ended up in this P.O. box would be if it was placed there by someone with a key to that box or a USPS employee. The 3 employees who managed the boxes said they didn't remember seeing the envelope. The only other person with confirmed access to that box was Dozel, who had a key. The FBI put out a report regarding the false allegations of adult crimes. Under offender motives, perpetrators of false allegation crimes have various underlying motives that fall into one or more categories. Investigators may encounter cases involving more than one motivation. The motivations are mental illness/depression, attention/sympathy, financial/profit, alibi, and revenge. In the examples I previously showed you, all of them were going for some type of attention. Most of them were going for profit. Muhammad definitely got a lot of attention. But was this really just persecution of a brown Muslim? That's what Twitter kept on selling us, and what publications like Vox kept on reporting. No, this is really more a problem of schools' zero-tolerance policies, and Richard Dawkins agrees.
I think what he was the victim of is the zero-tolerance policy.
And in my previous video, I explained how a white kid would be treated exactly the same way. Back in 2013, Mother Jones ran this article. Bam, these tykes got busted for guns made of Legos, Pop-Tarts, and paper. This article is basically an indictment of schools' zero-tolerance policies and how they negatively affect children. Specifically about how the school's reactions are heavy-handed and illogical. This from the Daily News. First graders were suspended for using fingers as guns while playing cops and robbers. I'm glad they got these little terrors. Next, this little 6-year-old psychopath was expelled for bringing a plastic toy gun to class. At least they're showing gender equality in punishment. And I don't know about you, but I know that I can sleep easier knowing that this 5-year-old girl was not only suspended, but had to undergo psychological evaluation for bringing a plastic pink Hello Kitty gun that shoots bubbles and telling one of her classmates, I'm going to shoot you with it. This little sociopath was suspended for eating a Pop-Tart in the shape of a gun and saying bang. I know I'd be frightened hiding underneath my desk if I saw this kid with this 2-inch Lego gun. And this kid got arrested for writing a story about shooting a pet dinosaur. Yeah, that school really stopped the next Columbine. So don't tell me that Ahmed got arrested for being Muslim. No, he was arrested for bringing something to school that looked like a bomb. Now, even though Mother Jones runs articles like this, tykes got busted for guns made of Legos, Pop-Tarts, and paper. When it comes to Ahmed, it's a different story. I think it's safe to say that the Ahmed Muhammad incident is a product of Islamophobia. How to get arrested in 2 easy steps. 1, be named Ahmed. 2, build a clock. And this last article from Mother Jones. This one tweet perfectly expresses why we're so angry about the Ahmed Muhammad arrest. A 14-year-old kid was arrested for making a clock while Muslim. The whole thing is pretty outrageous and basically everyone is outraged. This tweet sums up what's so insane about the school's excuse. Saying we mistook the clock for a bomb is a really greasy way of sidestepping the truth. We mistook the kid for a bomb maker. Now, what evidence does anyone have to show that Ahmed was arrested for being Muslim? There is none. Their argument is based on stereotypes, and it's both hypocritical and self-righteous. Stereotypes are bad, and Muslims have a nasty stereotype of being labeled as terrorist. Since Ahmed brought this clock to school, he was judged as a terrorist based on this negative stereotype. However, this argument only works if the other side is prejudged as being bigoted, and they are judging Texas as being a racist, bigoted place. So based on that stereotype, the only reason why Ahmed was arrested was because he was Muslim. The teachers and the police are just bigots. And don't you dare challenge their narrative. Don't you dare call them hypocrites. You are terrible because you prejudge this kid based on a stereotype. And we know this based on your stereotype, such as Stephen Amell learned. And if you don't know who Stephen Amell is, he's the lead actor on a TV show called Arrow. He plays the Green Arrow. Now, it was a really good show on the first season, and after that, it's really gone downhill. However, he went on Twitter to defend Texas. Stereotyping Texas isn't any better than stereotyping Ahmed, just so we're clear. And Twitterites responded very quickly. Linda G, no, stop. And again, it's nice to see rumors of his douchiness confirmed firsthand, though. TBH, which is to be honest. Well, to be honest, Linda, you're a moron. Stephen went on Twitter to defend himself. First, I can't believe I broke my rule and tweeted about an actual event. Staggering to remember that debates in 140 characters don't work. Yeah, he knows people have crazy reactions. Second, what happened to Ahmed was terrible, obviously. He's against Ahmed being arrested. Third, I happened to read a series of tweets pronouncing that this is a systematic problem in Texas, which is also profiling. Fourth, it's profiling in a much less hurtful / destructive way, but it is profiling. Fifth, anywho, I'm not apologizing or deleting the tweets. If you're outraged at an opinion, it's because you're bored. Sixth, my wife is from Texas. I have extended family in Texas, and I've met thousands of Texans that are wonderful, polite individuals. 7, this gave me an excellent opportunity to block several employees of companies I don't like. That's exciting. 8, last thing, Ahmed's White House visit will be an awesome, awesome moment. Twitter reacted as Twitter does. Jin Lin, must be nice, huh? Your wife growing up well, making sure all the dark-skinned people stay out of their neighborhoods. Agent 37, no worries, many POC fans are unfollowing you in droves. You let us down and still haven't apologized. You know, if you're going to use abbreviation that spells out a word, I'm going to use the word. Agent 37 again, it's okay. I'm mad because he seriously tried to make an act of racism all about his fragile white ego. Want an apology. The only one with a fragile ego here is you. Stephen is arguing against stereotyping. You're arguing for it. And while your avatar is Wonder Woman, he plays the Green Arrow on a major television show. I think his ego is plenty secure. Damn, I was really looking forward to the new season of Arrow. Now you're officially white trash. Congratulations. Yeah, that's great. He's white trash because he's against stereotyping. The road not taken. Texas is a city. Wow. Obviously, the road you did not take was one that would have led you to school. It has no feelings and no handcuffs. Ahmed is a boy. It's the first time I'm not with you, Stephen. Even though he said he wasn't going to apologize, he finally does because it's just too much. And eventually he states that he's going to take a break from social media. However, he does end with this. Sinful, delete yourself from existence. Thank you. And Stephen responds, great news, unfollows are free. And Stephen got all that hate over what? He didn't want people to be stereotyped. And a lot of the comments kept on referring to him being white, his white privilege, his white ego, and that is what it is. See, they can stereotype you. These social justice warriors can stereotype you regarding your race, as long as you're white, as long as it keeps on fitting the narrative as you being a bigot, that stereotype is completely fine. Now, Ahmed wasn't arrested just because this clock looked like a bomb. He was arrested for other reasons too, according to the Irving Student Code of Conduct. Under the section of reporting crimes, the principal and other school administrators / staff, as appropriate, shall report crimes as required by law and shall call local law enforcement when an administrator suspects that a crime has been committed on campus. After notification of local law enforcement, school administrators will call Irving ISD Safety and Security. Remember, Ahmed says he got arrested for a hoax bomb.
They said it was a bomb, so I got arrested for a hoax bomb.
Once again, in the Student Code of Conduct, possession of prohibited items. Students shall not possess or use a look-alike weapon. A hoax bomb is a look-alike weapon. Texas Penal Code regarding hoax bombs. A person commits an offense if the person knowingly manufactures, sells, purchases, transports, or possesses a hoax bomb with the intent to use the hoax bomb to 1. Make another believe the hoax bomb is an explosive or incendiary device, or 2. Cause an alarm or reaction of any type by an official of a public safety agency or volunteer agency organized to deal with emergencies.
The law itself says a reaction of alarm by anyone or a reaction by a law enforcement agency. Clearly that happened. What we wanted to do before we pursue this charge further, being as we're dealing with a school child, is determine, was that just a naive accident, or was there intention along with that? And that's what we investigated further. The student was taken into custody for possession of a hoax bomb. Our reaction, and you've seen the image, our reaction would have been the same either way. That's a very suspicious device. We live in an age where you can't take things like that to schools.
However, there's a piece missing to this story. Here's Ahmed explaining how his teachers reacted when they saw his device.
And you brought it to school?
Yes.
And you showed it to him, and was he impressed?
Yeah, he was impressed.
What did he say?
He was like, I like it, I'm impressed, but it kind of looks like a bomb to me. I had 15 minutes to show my engineering teacher what I made over the weekend, so when I showed it to him, he was like, I'm impressed, but he gave me a little look. It looked like a bomb in his expression. So when he told me it looks like a bomb, I was like, it looked like a clock. And he was like, well, you might not want to show any other teachers just because you might think it's a threat to them. I had plugged it in and it made noise, so the teacher was like, what's that noise? And I told her, so I didn't say anything. I unplugged it immediately. And I told her, it was me that made that noise. It was my alarm clock. And she told me, it looks like a bomb. She was like, I'll take it from you right here. And I was like, why are you taking it? She's like, well, I don't want you going around with it. It was plugged in, and I set a time on there, and I showed it to a student sitting next to me. And it went off, so the teacher looked around and said, what was that noise? And I just unplugged it immediately.
And then what happened? When did they call the security people at the school?
The security people were called around 6th period. Well, that's when I got called out of class. But after the students left the classroom, I did show my teacher the clock, and I showed it to her, and that's when she confiscated it up from me.
Stories are a little inconsistent, aren't they? I know who doesn't buy this story? Mark Cuban. When Mark Cuban gets curious about something, he investigates. Mark is the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and he was concerned about flopping, which is fake fouling in basketball. So he investigated it.
But how can you really tell, even with a replay, when an athlete is in fact faking a foul?
Mark Cuban asked us if we were interested in doing it.
With more than $100,000 in funding from the Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban, SMU professor Peter Weyand and his team set out 9 months ago on a research project dubbed The Physics of Flopping, blowing the whistle on a foul practice.
Listen to what led Mark Cuban to question Ahmed's story.
Go ahead. Because I've talked to the kid. Go ahead. Right, he's from Dallas, and I've talked to the people in the school district. The kid is a super smart kid, science geek. We talked about science, but while I'm talking to him on the phone, as I asked him a question, tell me what happened, because I'm curious, right? His sister over his shoulder, you could hear, listening to the question, giving him the answer. So I don't know all the details of what happened, but what I do know, when I talked to him about science, when I talked to him about magnets, when I talked to him about creating things, he was very, very engaged.
He's great. He's a great kid.
He's a great kid.
No one's doubting that. I'm just asking about perspective. First of all, the teacher, I don't know.
No, but part two to all this. So I talked to, this is once removed, right? So I talked to people in Irving, Texas that worked with people in MacArthur, the school. And I said, what happened? What did you hear? This is, again, secondhand. He said the kid, Ahmed, took the clock, put it into first class. Teacher said, great, looks great, looks great. Kid picks it up, takes it to the second class. Teacher said, okay, whatever, it's great, it's great. Ahmed didn't really comment on it from what I heard. Takes it to the third class, same thing. Then he got to a point, again, secondhand, where one of the teachers, an English teacher apparently, said, look, you got to put it in your backpack because it's going to make some people nervous, and it's making me nervous. And again, secondhand, he wasn't responsive to it at all. So it took 6 classes before anything happened.
So the only reason why Mark Cuban, a man worth $3 billion, would call around, try to figure out what happened is because he does not believe Ahmed's story. And he doesn't believe it because his sister kept on coaching him on what to say. Ahmed has been completely prepped to answer every single question. Oh, and when I say he's been prepped, just watch the following clips. And when you listen to him speak, listen to not just what he says, but how he says it. A lot of times he has a hard time delivering the lines he's been prepared to speak.
I made it to impress my teachers first week of school, trying to start new with them and showing I have a passion for engineering. I made it to impress my teachers first week of school, trying to start new with them and showing I have a passion for engineering. I brought the clock to impress my teachers. I brought it to school to show my teachers, to impress them. I built the clock to impress my teacher, but when I showed it to her, she thought it was a threat to her. So it was really sad that she took a wrong impression of it, and I got arrested for it later that day. I told them I wanted to impress my teachers, but instead I got the police called on me. Don't be afraid to show who you are, and if someone says you're different, be happy, because for some reason, if someone says you're different, that means you're all the same. Stay on it and don't let people change who you are. And like I said before, if there's a consequence for it and you love doing something, don't let that consequence stop you, because sometimes the rules can be bad. Go for it. Don't let people change who you are. even if you get a consequence for it, I'd suggest you still show it to people because you need to show them your talent. The support isn't just for me, but it's for everyone who's been through this. I will fight for you if you can't stand it for yourself. It felt really outstanding. I never thought I'd get this far, but since I have gone this far, I will try my best, not just to help me, but to help every other kid in the entire world who has a problem like this.
Now, the next two clips are going to differ. The first one, he's talking to Al Jazeera. The second one, he's talking to MSNBC. He was instructed to change his answers when he was talking to different crowds.
Why do you think the police officer said to you when he saw you, I believe one of the 4 police officers, he said, he looked at you and he said, "That's who I thought it was"?
Yes. I think it was because of my race and because of where I'm from and because of my name.
And how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel different, like I didn't belong there, and it made me feel like I was a threat to them. He got back in the reclined chair and he relaxed and he was like, and he said, "That's who I thought it was."
And what did you take that to mean?
I took that to mean that he was pointing at me for what I am, my race, and he took it at me because I was just a student. I never had any contact with him. I never talked. This isn't my first invention, and it won't be my last invention. Just because one person did something to me doesn't mean they can change who I am. And don't let them change you. This isn't my first invention, and it won't be my last invention. And I am pleased that they are a part of the action and the movement to get rid of everything that has been happening, not just to me, but to other people around the entire globe. For every person who's different, and it's not just Muslims who go through this, it's other religions all religions we're all human in the end.
However, he's got completely different stories to explain his inventions.
What are you going to build next, Ahmed, after your clock?
I'm hoping to build a bigger clock.
Oh, wow. Okay. A bigger clock in anything more? Any more details that you can share?
Yeah, yes, it's going to be a clock signed by me, and it will have some temperature, and it's going to be a atomic clock where it tells time exactly.
Wow. Seriously, you want to build a bigger clock? Well, I guess you're going to have to start with this. Luckily, it's only $36.95, and it works. It's an atomic clock, and it looks like it's easy to disassemble. Of course, you're going to have something to put it in, so here's a nice little silver briefcase. We don't want it to look like a bomb or anything, of course. I guess the only original part about it is going to be that you're actually going to sign it. Well, Ahmed, I look forward to your next invention.
What are your future plans, Ahmed?
That clock was part of my future plan.
What happened, Ahmed? You gave up your future plans of inventing a briefcase clock? Seriously, how is this part of your future?
And you really like inventing. Do you have other inventions that you want to do, or are you interested in that kind of thing?
Yes, I'm really interested in it. I would say my next invention would be a side hoverboard.
A side hoverboard?
Yeah, like.
So how does that work?
There's like these forward ones that go in back and reverse.
Oh, one that moves side to side?
Yeah.
Nice.
Geez, Ahmed, I guess you're going to need one of these next. Luckily, you can get all this stuff on Amazon. You know, this one might be a little bit harder to take apart. I don't think a Phillips or a Flathead's going to open these guys up. I think you're going to have to pick up a set of these. It's a special set of screwdrivers just for funky little things like this. Just a little heads up, Ahmed. Mark Cuban already owns the patent on the hoverboards. And he already has his eye on you.
With them. But I made an invention where it harnesses power by neodymium magnets. But I can't tell you specifically what parts they are because it's still not patented.
Well, Ahmed, you understand how magnets work. Well, maybe you can explain it to these guys.
Fucking magnets, how do they work? And I don't want to talk to a scientist. Y'all motherfuckers lying and getting me pissed.
Aw, damn, just another Islamophobe. Well, at least he got the lying part right. Once again, I don't really want to blame you, Ahmed. The blame I put is really on this man. Ahmed's father, Mohammed Al-Asim Mohammed. He's quite an interesting little character. He has twice run for the president of Sudan. And here is him announcing his candidacy to run for the president of Sudan.
Hello and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. My name is Muhammad Al-Hassan. I would like to thank the National Reform Party of the Sudan, Hizb al-Islah al-Watani, for selecting me as their representative to run for president of the Sudan.
It looked like he passed a kidney stone while delivering that speech. What type of candidatal speech is that? You know, I would think if someone's running for president of a country who actually wanted to win, they'd be standing at a podium with the flag of the country behind them and the symbol of the party that they're running for mounted on the podium. I mean, you're sitting at, what is that, a conference table with, what are those pictures behind you? Maybe just food for thought for your third run for president of Sudan. So with that stellar candidatal speech, let's see how well he actually performed. Came in with a whopping 0.76% of the vote. Seriously, how do you do that bad? Do you think someone would accidentally mark your name on the ballot to get more than 1%? What did somebody do? Vote for the wrong Muhammad? Seriously, how does somebody get name recognition in a Muslim country where like half the people are named Muhammad? And that's not a joke. I mean, back in 2000, when George Bush ran for president, part of the reason he ran was because he had name recognition. His father was George Bush, who was president. And check out the ballot. Of the 14 people who were running, guess what? There were 4 Muhammads. So who are you voting for? I'm voting for Muhammad. Well, this guy's named Muhammad Ahmed, so you know he's good. This is what Donald Trump thinks of him.
He's got 1% in the polls, and how he got up here, there's far too many people anyway.
0.76% of the vote, seriously? Ahmed's father couldn't beat out these nuts as a candidate for president. And take a look, these nuts has 9% of the vote. So why would someone run for president when they couldn't even beat out these nuts? Self-promotion. He likes to refer to himself as a sheik. And for those who don't know what a sheik is, according to Wikipedia, a sheik is an honorific title in the Arabic language. It commonly designates the ruler of a tribe who inherited the title from his father. Sheikh also often serves as a title for prominent Islamic leaders or clerics. According to the Seattle Times, Elasan, a native of Sudan who is now a U.S. citizen, likes to call himself a sheikh. He wears a cleric's following white robes and claims hundreds of followers throughout Egypt, Sudan, and the United States. But he is unknown as a scholar or holy man in the state he has called a home for 2 decades. Religious leaders in Texas say they have never heard of Elasan, including the imam at the mosque where he worships. This so-called leader, we never heard of this person, said Imam Z-ul-Haq Sheikh, head of the Islamic Center of Irving. I believe the whole thing is made up. Elasan has only a handful of followers who chant with him on Saturdays and Sundays at a small prayer center in a strip mall that he founded in 2001 for other Sufi Muslims, a sect that embraces mysticism and personal relationship with God. In 2011, Reverend Terry Jones put the Quran on trial. Ahmed's father showed up to defend the Quran. At the end of the trial, Reverend Terry Jones burned the Quran. Even though Ahmed's father said he served as a defense attorney at Jones's mock trial because the Quran teaches that Muslims should engage in peaceful dialogue with Christians. But there was also a more pragmatic reason. It was spring break and he wanted to take his wife and 5 kids to Disney World. To kill 2 birds with 1 stone, as he put it. Since returning to Texas, Elasan says he's been questioned by others about his participation in the trial. Some of his small followers have asked that he no longer lead prayers. Others have refused to drive for the taxi fleet that his family owns, he said. There are some people who blame me, who say you don't need to go there. He said, you were in the place of the devil. So he calls himself a sheikh, but as far as I can tell, he's not the ruler of a tribe, and he doesn't have any followers. So what is he? He's a shameless self-promoter, and this is his golden opportunity. Now, some people would say, why would a father use his children to advance themselves? Well, does anybody remember this guy? Richard Heaney and his son Falcon, Balloon Boy.
Yeah! He was just right here! Falcon! No! Falcon!
No way!
The self-made tapes sound pretty real. And so did the ensuing 911 call from his wife, Mayumi.
We gotta get my son.
But after investigators questioned the Heaneys,
The first call was to the FAA. Yes.
they determined it was all a hoax. The Heaneys pleaded guilty. They each got jail time. Richard Heaney even apologized to a judge.
I'm very, very sorry.
It's believed the Heenies did it as self-promotion so they can get their own reality TV show. The Heenies did it for financial profit and attention. The following clip is from Ahmed's press conference. Now listen to what he says. Now he's obviously prepared and he has a hard time getting it out, but listen very carefully because he's asking for certain things that he wants.
Assalamu alaikum. So I guess everyone knows I'm the person who built a clock and got in a lot of trouble for it. I built the clock to impress my teacher, but when I showed it to her, she thought it was a threat to her. So it was really sad that she took a wrong impression of it, and I got arrested for it later that day. But since the charges have already been dropped, I will have to say that I really want to go to MIT and TAMS, and I'm thinking about transferring schools from MacArthur to any different school.
Do you see the look of relief on his face as he got that statement out? He got out what he was told he had to get out. Now going back bit by bit, what did he say? After he says that the charges have been dropped and he's happy about it, he says he wants to go to MIT or Taft. Then he says he wants to go to any school. Okay, he's trying to put in place where he wants to go to school. He wants to go to MIT, so he's trying to get that little niche cut in for him. And then he wants to go to any school. He's looking for a scholarship so he can go to a private high school. And this is what he got.
We're the kind of student that we want at places like MIT and Harvard.
You know who the big winner is? Ahmed. Because when I talked to him, he got all the attention, right? You know, his 2 hours were taken. But he told me, look, I've been getting all these offers. I'm not going back to MacArthur. I'm going to pick which school I want to go to now because everybody's offering me scholarships. The kid came out way ahead.
And boy, did Ahmed come out ahead. Mark Zuckerberg invited him to go to Facebook. He was invited to the Google Science Fair. He had a personal invitation by the President of the United States to visit the White House. He got an offer to be an intern at Twitter. And Ahmed and his family are headed to the UN and Saudi Arabia, an entire mountain of booty provided by Microsoft. Now, these were just Ahmed's spoils. Now, to make clear, there was no way of knowing that Ahmed was going to get all these things. This reaction was going to bring on all these invitations to the White House, to Twitter, to Facebook. However, there definitely was a plan. See the woman to Ahmed's right? Her name is Alia Salem, and she's the executive director of the Dallas-Fort Worth branch of CAR. CAR is the Council on American Islamic Relations. The United Arab Emirates has listed CAR as a terrorist organization. According to Breitbart, FBI policy since 2008 has prohibited communication with CAR outside of criminal investigations. That decision was based on evidence in a terror financing prosecution in Dallas, which placed CAR and its founders in a Muslim Brotherhood Hamas support network called the Palestine Committee. Until we can resolve whether there continues to be a connection between CAR or its executives and Hamas, the FBI does not view CAR as an appropriate liaison partner. Assistant FBI Director Richard Powers wrote in 2009, Ali Salam and CAR have been working this case to make it seem like it's all about Muslim oppression.
I think this wouldn't even be a question if his name wasn't Ahmed Mohammed. He is an excited kid who's very bright, likes to invent things, wants to share it with his teachers.
The Council on American Islamic Relations worries that police targeted Mohammed because he's a Muslim.
The policemen that were involved in the interrogation and arrest of Ahmed, the way that was gone about reporting what had happened, the clock and everything like that. The way that everything happened, the rhetoric that had happened, is very similar to the rhetoric that has come out of the wake of Mayor Beth Van Dyne's comments, in the wake of some of the other anti-Muslim legislation that has taken place in Texas. Well, in the North Texas area, I mean, especially in 2015, we've seen our fair share of increases in hate crimes and negative sentiments towards the Muslim community. But this is something, frankly, that's happening across the nation. So Ahmed's story is unfortunately not uncommon. It's something that we're seeing repeated in schools across the country and jobs across the country, a lot of employment discrimination we're seeing. But in Irving in particular, we're concerned because there has been recently a very negative climate in focus comparing to the Muslim community. And so we have had concerns, that some of this sentiment, some of this is a result of that growing negative sentiment in Irving from recent events.
What Alia Salem is complaining about is that Mayor Van Dyne of Irving, Texas, backed a law that would forbid judges from using foreign law in their rulings. This was seen as Islamophobic because it prevented Sharia law from being introduced into cases. And when Alia Salem is talking about other incidents, she's referring to the Draw Muhammad contest, in which 2 terrorists attempted to murder all the participants because they were drawing the Prophet Muhammad. The terrorists themselves were the only people killed. This is what Alia Salem had to say regarding the incident. The discussion we have to have is, when does free speech become hate speech, and when does hate speech become incitement to violence? This is a true argument against freedom of speech, because you can prosecute people for incitement. Alia, this is incitement. This is not. So what happened to Ahmed was not a problem that's typical Alia. How many kids are getting arrested for bringing clocks to school? None. Now listen again to what Mark Cuban said.
But while I'm talking to him on the phone, as I asked him a question, tell me what happened, because I'm curious, right? His sister, over his shoulder, you could hear, listening to the question, giving him the answer.
I bet Mark Cuban was confused and thought Alia Salem was Ahmed's sister, because Alia really did prep Ahmed. Watch the following clips and see what I mean. This first clip is Ahmed delivering his opening statement at his press conference. Now listen to what he says. He's very prepped and very prepared. However, he has a really hard time getting out. So then in the middle of it, while he gets out, he begins to struggle and loses a word. She mouths him something. He's able to finish the monologue. She pats him on the back and then mouths, "Good job."
Assalamu alaikum. So I guess everyone knows I'm the person who built a clock and got in a lot of trouble for it. I built the clock to impress my teacher, but when I showed it to her, she thought it was a threat to her. So it was really sad that she took a wrong impression of it, and I got arrested for it later that day. But since the charges have already been dropped, I will have to say that I really want to go to MIT and TAMS, and I'm thinking about transferring schools from MacArthur to any different school. And thank you to all my supporters on Twitter, Facebook, all social media. Thank you all for helping me. I would never got this far if it wasn't for you guys, and not just you guys, everybody.
We stand for you, Ahmed. Please let.
Now the audio can't pick it up, but you can clearly see her mouth say "good job" after he finishes making this next statement.
And then to get all these tweets and support today, what has it felt like?
It felt really outstanding. I never thought I'd get this far, but since I have gone this far, I will try my best, not just to help me, but to help every other kid in the entire world who has a problem like this.
Now watch her feed him the next line. Ahmed delivered the line exactly like he was supposed to. He delivers it. Then she feeds him the next line. He messes it up. She shakes her head in disapproval, and then his dad gives him the correct line.
I would love to be on Shark Tank.
What are you gonna sell them?
First I'll patent my invention, then I'll do all the necessary steps to get there. And then go from there.
Wait till you invent something and then go.
Because he screwed up on the last answer, now watch everybody feed him the next answer.
What was the conversation between you and your teacher when this first happened?
No.
The police chief wants to meet with you. Are you going to meet with the police chief? He says he wants to meet with you, the police chief. Do you want to...
Did you catch that? He didn't even know what he was saying no to. Again, she feeds him the next line, except this time it clearly gets picked up on the audio.
What school are you trying to transfer to?
We don't have definites on that yet.
Now he delivers a very long answer that he was obviously prepped for. However, he has a hard time getting out, and during the middle of it, she gives him the line, support. And then he's able to continue on, and then she mouths, good job.
Taking all this.
I felt pretty down that no one would know about this, but I guess it's all the supporters online and social media. It brought me to the point where I could see people who don't care for me, but every other person. It made me really happy to see all these people support me and support others.
Once again, after he delivers the answer that he was supposed to, she mouths, "Good job," and then she cuts off the interview.
Going to go to the White House and accept the president's invitation?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Let us know if you have any further follow-up questions.
Next, they appear together on MSNBC. Now, he's much better prepped this time, but she cannot feed him the same answers like she used to because she's mic'd, and whatever she says is going to be picked up. So watch her reactions and watch her head cues.
I went to an interrogation room which filled with 4 other officers.
An interrogation room in your school?
It's a school resources room. I call it the interrogation room because that's where I got interrogated.
So they put...
Did you catch her smile? She liked that answer. She wanted him to say the word interrogate because there's a big difference when you're interrogated by a police officer and when you're just questioned. Now, before Ahmed gets a chance to answer the question, she shakes her head up and down to signal for Ahmed to answer yes. Why does she only want him to say the word yes? It is very common in yes or no questions for people to continue to speak and say something that will later hurt them. She wants to control the narrative.
You ask them, can I talk to my parents? Can I call my parents and tell them what's going on?
Yes.
And what did they say?
They told me, no, you can't call your parents.
Now, Ahmed struggles with his next answer, and when he finally gets it out, she shakes her head to show that she approved it.
How long were you in that room?
About an hour, 25 minutes, around an hour and 25.
Once again, she shakes her head up and down to signal for him to answer yes. This should be a no-brainer for him to answer yes, but she still signals for him to do it.
So eventually, after an hour and a half, is that when they handcuff you?
Yes.
Once again, even though it should be a no-brainer, she shakes her head up and down so he will just give a yes answer and nothing else.
In middle school, I was called a terrorist, called a bomb maker, just because of my race and religion.
Wait, you've been called that before by kids in your school?
Yes.
Again, a no-brainer answer, but watch her actually feed him the line.
At places like MIT and Harvard.
Ahmed, obviously it's a plane flight and such, but maybe you can go check it out. I know it's early for college, you're only 14, but you know, these things start early these days.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fact right there.
Now you've seen it. On the lawn interview, she fed him line after line after line. And on the MSNBC interview, she kept on giving him cues on how to answer questions. And when the interview was done, she tweeted this. Now you've seen how prepped Ahmed was. You've seen how all of his statements are very, very similar. And then you've seen during live interviews how Ahmed is repeatedly coached to give answers they want him to give. And what is next? A lawsuit, of course. This is what Ahmed tweeted. And this is what Alia retweeted. Shan McCall, give them all you've got. If public shaming for their stupidity, bigotry, and unconstitutional treatment doesn't do it, sue. Alia Salem, about to meet with attorney and stand for his rights. I stand with Ahmed.
Ahmed has been severely traumatized since the incident. They say they want justice and to ensure no family has to experience what Ahmed experienced.
But we do have an innocent young man who was arrested for no reason from school and totally humiliated. And this would have never occurred. And we want to make sure that this never occurs again to any child.
You money-grubbing whore. It's attorneys like you that ruin the legal profession. In Los Angeles, there's an attorney named Gloria Allred. It's a fitting last name because she's always on her period. Nationwide, there are a lot of attorneys that cannot wait until she dies because they believe she's done so much damage to the entire legal profession. She's always looking for a victim to self-promote. She's always running off to every single camera she possibly can. And I know someone in her firm, and what they say is that you have to wear a suit every single day because you never know when the media is going to show up. But I also know firsthand there are some cases, even cases that would be high-profile cases, she has turned down because she realizes some things are just bullshit. But in all truth, I want Ahmed to sue because he has no idea what the hell he is in for. As soon as they file a lawsuit, oh man, they're going to open up a can of worms. Ahmed's family's been tying the hands of the school district and the police department. See, they've been only telling one side of the story. There's so much more out there. Police and the school have been both insistent that Ahmed was not forthcoming when they asked him what the device was for. And this is what triggered the arrest in the first place.
The student showed the device to a teacher who was concerned that it was possibly the infrastructure for a bomb. School resource officers questioned the student about his intentions and the reason why he brought the device to the school. The student would only say that it was a clock and was not forthcoming at that time about any other details. Having no other information to go on and taking into consideration the device's suspicious appearance and the safety of the students and the staff at MacArthur High School, the student was taken into custody for possession of a hoax bomb.
A lot of these details that the family and he has provided to you were not shared with us yesterday in any way. He was very much less than forthcoming.
So if Ahmed wasn't forthcoming, why does the police just tell what happened? Why does the school just tell what happened? Because Ahmed's family is purposely blocking it because they do not want you to know what really happened.
One group has been frustrated. That's the Irving ISD, because they say as the story grows, they've had to remain silent.
Unfortunately, the information that has been made public to this point has been very unbalanced. We would provide additional factual information about the situation. However, we feel it's very important to protect the students' right to privacy, and we will continue to abide by FERPA, which is the federal law that protects student information.
So what is FERPA? FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. It's a federal law that protects the privacy of students' educational records. Under FERPA, schools must have written permission from the parent or eligible student in order to release any information from a student's education record. This law clearly protects Ahmed's records. So Ahmed's parents must sign off so his records will be released. And whatever school records the school has regarding the incident will be put forth. But Ahmed's parents will not do this. They want to control the narrative. This is Beth Van Doon. She's the mayor of Irving, Texas, and she knows more of the situation than we do because she's actually been able to look into the records. But she too is limited in what she's allowed to say.
As much as she legally can discuss about how that incident played out.
In my own conversations with the police is that he was not forthcoming with information. But I just think common sense prevails. Does it make sense? And if not, why? The family has been non-responsive to their requests to sign off that they can release that information. So right now, we're waiting to hear back from the parents that we can release all that information and have that kind of transparency out in the public.
She's smiling because she knows the parents will no way in hell release that information. Now, there is a recent development that the school actually sent the request to the wrong attorney, the attorney that showed up on the front lawn during the first press conference. However, that attorney's been sitting on that request for over a week and has not shared it with anybody. Additionally, it is well known that the school has wanted Ahmed's parents to release the information, and Ahmed's parents have not said that they would. The police, too, have tried to block some of the information coming forward as well, mainly because it identifies the officers who were involved in the questioning and the arrest of Ahmed. And since the police have been receiving credible death threats, they want to protect those officers' lives. However, the information might still come forward. Remember when I said that suing would open up a can of worms? It's going to open up the discovery process. During discovery, you get to ask all kinds of questions and they have to answer them. And you get to demand all kinds of records, including Ahmed's school records. During discovery, you get to ask all kinds of questions and they have to answer them. And you get to demand all kinds of records, including Ahmed's school records. FERPA allows schools to disclose those records without consent to the following parties or under the following conditions. And the condition in blue, to comply with a judicial order or lawfully issued subpoena. Ahmed's school records will be subpoenaed and the police records will also be subpoenaed. And who is Ahmed going to sue? He is going to sue everybody. And when I say everybody, he's going to sue the school district, the principal of the school, the English teacher who reported him to the principal of the school, the individual police who worked at the school that took Ahmed out of class, the individual police who questioned Ahmed at school, the individual police who arrested him, the Irving Police Department, the city of Irving, the county, and probably even the state of Texas itself. That is just what happens when these types of lawsuits go on. And since all those parties are going to be defendants, all of them are going to be entitled to go after each and every single one of those records. Now, the only thing Ahmed's attorneys might try is to settle this case without filing a lawsuit, and that can happen. But I do not think the school is going to go for it. I think the school is going to want this discovery for two reasons. One, they don't want to pay him any money. And two, they want to release the information they've been held back from releasing. Remember, Ahmed, his father, Alia Salem, and all of Ahmed's supporters are labeling the school and the police department of Irving as bigots. They want to clear their name. So what can kill this story? Very simple. Ahmed's clock. Everything, and I do mean everything, anybody knows about this clock is really from this one picture. And remember, Ahmed said he invented this clock. This clock is one of his inventions. Currently, the Irving Police Department still has possession of the clock.
I want my clock and invention back.
Really? What are you going to do with the clock? Are you going to give it to Obama or sell it? Or?
I'm going to show all my fans how it works. I'm going to make a video on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram.
Gee, Ahmed, I don't think my heart can take it. I can't wait for this video to come out. I really want to see how an alarm clock works. I'm just fucking flabbergasted right now. Ahmed even claims that he needs to hire an attorney to get his clock back. This just isn't true. Police are saying Ahmed just won't pick up his clock.
Well, as for the clock itself, it does remain at the Irving Police Department. Police have made it clear that they no longer need this property since no charges will be filed. Earlier today, Heather, Ahmed's family, told us that the father would likely go pick it up today. He hasn't done that yet. Some close to the family say that they've just had a very overwhelming week, as you would imagine, and perhaps we'll get to that task later. Back to you.
According to BuzzFeed, police approved the clock to be returned to the family on September 16th, the day they announced the case was closed. A family representative was notified on Friday, September 18th that the item was ready to be picked up, police said. To get his clock back, police said Ahmed's father or another representative could stop by the department any weekday between 6 a.m. and 4:45 p.m. So why doesn't Ahmed pick up his clock? Because people are going to see it as just a stupid clock, and that Ahmed is not this great inventor. Before that happens, though, before the story dies, a whole slew of questions are going to be asked. Like, why would your engineering teacher be impressed by you taking the plastic casing off of a clock and jamming it in a pencil case? Why is that so impressive? Now, Ahmed's two puppet masters might try to stop these questions from being asked and just let the story die. But like I said, this information can still get out. It can get out when Ahmed has his deposition taken. After the lawsuit's been filed, Ahmed will have his deposition taken. They're going to sit him down in a chair. They're going to record him. They're going to ask him question after question for hours. This is going to go on for 8 hours, and he is going to fall apart. He's not going to have Alia Salem feeding him answers. He's not going to have his attorney be able to feed him answers. He's going to sit there and he's going to get grilled, and they're going to question him about all the things that I've brought up. He's going to be asked how he made that clock, what parts he used to make the clock. They might even make him demonstrate him building a clock, just throwing out a bunch of pieces and say, okay, do it. He's also going to get asked who prepped him for all those interviews. When did he first meet Alia Salem? When he was talking to Mark Cuban on the phone, was it Alia Salem? Was she the one in the background, or was it his sister? Why was his sister giving him lines to say to Mark Cuban? What was she saying to you? Ahmed is going to have to answer each and every single one of these questions. This deposition is going to be beautiful. I would love to see this. I hope that they actually put it up. You know, so you can see this sometime, like the Lil Wayne deposition. If you've ever seen that, it's just amazing. He starts threatening the attorney on camera. Just go get it. Remember the balloon boy story I was talking about? Well, that story fell apart at this moment.
He's asking Falcon, did you hear us calling your name at any time? You did?
You did?
Why didn't you come out?
You guys said that we did this for the show.
The Healy's were on a reality show before this wipe swap, and they were trying to get their own reality show about him basically being this kind of crazy inventor. And the kid, in just a very honest moment, just said it and blurted out, "Oh, well, you said we were doing this for the show."
And in that moment, Falcon said the following. When asked what all happened, he said, "You had said that we did this for the show." And I think a lot of people watched that and they said, he's probably the most innocent person, except your other children as well, in this whole situation. And here, in an unguarded, spontaneous moment, he spoke the truth. How do you respond to that?
The question is, how would Ahmed respond now to a situation like that?
But be honest, keep it 100. Was it a little cool to be arrested? I mean, it does give you a little street cred back in.
It was kind of cool.
Was it like, yeah, I made a clock and they're taking me.
The only reason I felt cool about it because I knew I was innocent and I knew that if I did take it to court, I wouldn't.
Not only does he say it was cool to be arrested, which takes away pretty much all the sting out of his argument that he was psychologically damaged. Mind you, he was only in custody for really about 2 hours. But he also says, yeah, it was cool to be arrested because he knew he was innocent, and if he brought to court, he would win. Well, to me, that's kind of his balloon boy moment. And to add even additional insult to injury, in the latest development regarding Ahmed's father, Muhammad Muhammad, is that he's a 9/11 truther. He posted a picture of the Twin Towers burning with a statement saying, "An American media creation." And the National Reform Party, which twice ran him for president of Sudan, posted a 15-minute video explaining how 9/11 was an inside job. The video blames the mainstream media's ineptitude to report accurately on this topic, and this ended up creating anger towards Arabs and fools people into thinking that Arabs are responsible for the 9/11 attacks. Doesn't it just stink of irony? Ahmed's father claims 9/11 was an inside job to blame Muslims, and the media did a bad job of looking into it. And here we have Ahmed's case. The media has not done a good job at all of looking into it, and they're just blaming America's racism and bigotry. Looking at Ahmed's case, there are too many coincidences. Things seem too perfect. Look at the little things. Ahmed, the perfect-looking, doe-eyed, dorky kid, looks like a model student. Now, there's some questions regarding that from a former teacher that he had a lengthy discipline record. But still, look at him. It fits the profile of the perfect nerd, even down to wearing the NASA shirt. And could that have even been more perfect itself? What is a more perfect symbol for Americans than NASA, the North American Space Agency? It's purer than apple pie. And Ahmed just happens to be the son of the man who has twice ran for the president of Sudan. Oh, come on. And Ahmed's father lives in Irving, Texas, which is in the county of Dallas. How could he not know Alia Salem before this? She is the head of care for the Fort Worth, Dallas area. I mean, they had to know each other. How wouldn't she know the guy that ran twice for the president of Sudan in her own backyard? Just so many coincidences, so many little things so perfect. Doesn't anyone's bullshit meter just start red lighting? Now, there is a reason why I did such a long video on this topic. See, the media loves these types of stories. All those people I showed you who faked hate crimes for profit, attention, the media initially loved those stories because it towed the line that racism and bigotry are inherent problems in America. Mother Jones, on one hand, talked about how heavy-handed schools treat innocent behavior, such as bringing water guns to school or pointing a finger and saying, bang. But Mother Jones switched when it was Ahmed because he is Muslim. Now it's about race and bigotry. It's about profiling. And profiling is the key to all of this. Ahmed knew he would or could get in trouble for bringing a clock that looked like a bomb to school. And he played it off as if he was profiled. He used it as a shield to deflect against any and all criticism about his stupid behavior. And the media ran with the story. Now, I don't know for sure that this was a setup from the beginning, but there definitely was a con going on. The bigotry angle, the racism angle, has definitely been worked for the benefit of Ahmed, and Ahmed cashed in. He presented his wants, and he got them. He wanted to go to new school, and now he's getting scholarship offers. He wants to go to MIT, and he's getting special treatment. And he's getting a whole host of other special treatment as well. But don't come down too hard on Ahmed. He is 14 after all. These are the people to blame. Ahmed's father and Alia Salem. They are the ones who are running the Ahmed show. Now, what really sickens me about all of this is the people Ahmed is blaming and allowing to receive blame for racism are innocent. These are people who acted by law, by rule, and by common sense and are now having their reputations destroyed, their character attacked. The English teacher followed the ISD code as she was mandated to. The principal followed the ISD code as he was mandated to. The police went in to investigate as they were supposed to. And you heard the police. Ahmed shared information with the media that he did not share with them. He was not forthcoming. And whether you think Ahmed should have been arrested is a matter of opinion. But the device does look suspicious. And who does not want the police to investigate when half the country looks at something and says, hey, that looks like a bomb. And now all these people are being labeled racist, bigots, and Islamophobes. These people are receiving death threats. These people now live in fear. For what? Profit. Ahmed's father is getting a scholarship for his kid and is self-promoting. Alia Salem gets to continue to push her agenda. She's trying to make Ahmed Rosa Parks. And that will only work if you're able to label someone as a bigot, as evil, as terrible. Rosa Parks was the symbol of racial inequality and discriminatory laws. Alia wants Ahmed to be the symbol of Islamophobia in the United States. That is why Ahmed is supposed to go to the UN to slander our entire country. But Rosa Parks stood up for equality by not abiding a racist law and refusing to give up her seat to a white person. But Ahmed brought something into school that looked like a bomb, and it's narrative over fact. All of this at the expense and detriment of innocent people. And they don't care. So fuck you and fuck you. Now Ahmed is going to the White House, and I hope Obama dresses pretty because he's going to get fucked. This story will not stay positive forever. Now, what's really sad is there are a lot of people who don't care if this was a setup from the beginning. They made up their minds on the story the moment they heard Ahmed was Muslim. If it can fit a stereotype, then the answer is racism, bigotry. These people are self-righteous hypocrites. These same people who will have no problem labeling the teachers and the police as bigots for arresting Ahmed, citing that he was profiled for being brown and Muslim. If a white kid did it, they would say, of course the police had to investigate it. No many white kids have shot up schools. No many white males have gone on killing sprees. This is about making themselves feel better. They don't want to think that they would allow themselves to judge people based on stereotypes because they are such noble people. So they turn their head away from the evidence and scream racist. But when you call an innocent person racist based on your own fear of self-reflection, then you are the problem.